I've been in and out of homeless shelters 4 times in the past 6 years. I remember the first shelter I moved in, I was younger than 10. I was a child, and I can remember people. I can remember being surrounded by a lot of people other than my siblings and my mom. I was about 12 years old when I realized going and living in and out of shelters was not the norm for every child. I definitely remember how I felt at first, like awkward, very weird. But after spending so much time with those people, after spending so much time with them, you kind of become comfortable. When placed in that situation, it allows your brain to just have this mentality of, okay, all I need to do is not die. And I believe that's not living, that's just not dying. And that kind of life is oppressive and depressing and sad. I lived at the Center of Hope for about a year before we had to move out and stay at a hotel. One day, our time at the hotel had ran out. But my mother did thankfully have a friend of hers in Gastonia, North Carolina, that we could go stay with. So she went, but I chose to stay behind because we could not get all of our stuff to Gastonia. I didn't really know what to do, but what I knew was that I couldn't leave the stuff there because that was all we had. I was crying in the room. I felt alone. I felt so alone. But then something told me that, you got to get up. You can't sit here and cry until the manager comes in and tells you, hey, you got to leave or I'm calling the cops or something like that. So it's like, oh man, and I was thanking people to call. And I was like, oh yeah, Lex. I can call Lex Bibbs.
Me and Shane really didn't know each other. I was in charge of my group to basically checking in with our roster. And Shane was on that list and I was just like, hey, I'm Lex, I'm be one of your group leaders, just want to make sure that everything is still good for Youth X this weekend. He was like, absolutely, looking forward to it. And, about 30 minutes later, that's when he called me back and was like, there's this hotel situation. It was a disaster. We thought a tornado came through the room. I picked him up almost at like eviction time. So we had maybe a 30, 45-minute window to gather as much stuff as possible, get it in my Jeep and go to Gastonia. I call it a God moment because he knew something's possible. Something or somebody can get me out of this situation. And it just so happened that I called.
That day is the day that I realized God is real. God is with me. And sometimes I believe now that sometimes it takes certain experiences to realize that God is there. God has always been there, and he'll always be there.
Big Shane is so wise beyond his years, where so many people would be beat up and torn down through everything that he's going through. Shane just seemed to only get stronger, and his faith in God has just gotten stronger through it all.
I believe my purpose in pain is to help other people not go through the same things I went through. God allowed me to endure through my suffering so that people won't have to do what I did, and so that people know that they won't have to do it alone.
He's had so much of this pain, but because of that, that's what drives him. Just the amount of people that Big Shane has brought to church is crazy. There was a time whenever he was living in the shelter and every week it was 5 or 6 people he would just roll in with. He's determined to not only get himself out and onto the other side of that, but to bring so many other people along with him.
After realizing God is in your life, that doesn't mean it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I do have hope because God is with me, that I believe he's using my pain to give it a purpose.